So today, I created a simple graphic organizer that explains the main points of the speaker Julian S. Burrell during the TED Talk and a comparative map that includes the main points of the author David Robson and explains the differences between the Eastern and Western civilizations about their beliefs, practices, traditions, and most importantly about identity. But first, I would tackle about the speech of Mr. Burrell in which he focused on the different cultural conflicts that we may already experience and most probably we are experiencing during this present time. As we all know, the dimensions in every aspect of human life focuses on some major thing which influence and manipulated by one's behavior, on what environment they belong to, who eventually shapes their personality as a human being. He even stated that we humans are seeing the cultural feedback in cultural glasses. We all see the world through cultural glasses, which is the lens through which our brain sees the world, shapes our reality, which directly means that everything we saw are not rationally stable. Example is the activities in the society which persuades us to think that all of the action of people we tend to interact have the morality of being good, but generally it is not. In this aspect, the conflict between cultural diversity and cultural feedback has something to do with the identity of one's individual, who particularly lives in highly urbanized and rural areas, in which they both have different culture and tradition. If some urban member communicates with a rural member with different culture, there are conflicts towards their communication about dialect, language, practices, and beliefs. Example here is the Konyo guy talks to an Ibanag or Ilocano guy. What conflict do you think might happen? For sure is the miscommunication caused by different culture and cultural diversity who shape them. As a whole, Mr. Burrell wants us to change how we see the world through cultural glasses, for us to rationally interpret the world in a good moral view, in order for us to benefit from the cultural diversity, to connect with every individual who are in a different culture. Next, I will tackle about how East and West think in profoundly different ways. Eastern and Western cultures are seriously divergent in a diversity of ways. The types of standards of food eaten, the architecture, philosophy, mannerisms, and most especially the practices and traditions are all illustrations of how various styles of thinking can produce highly different ways of life. Identity is a main discrepancy between the East and West. So I will use the Philippines as an example of an identity. Sometimes we tend to ask questions about what is the identity of the Filipino today. And everyone thinks that this question is very complicated. Actually, the answer is very plain. The identity of the Filipino today is of an individual who is asking what is his identity. That is not a senseless answer, as we'll recognize just by thinking of the tribe and clan here in the Philippines nowadays, in which the question of civil identity would never arise, because identity for them is characterized by the tribe. Nonetheless, the familial rituals that define the familial identity do show an awareness of the question which we have yet to learn. In familial ritual, they believe that identity is becoming and not a being. Identity for them is a process that was called the rites of passage. That's all. Thank you.